you know, have so much fun. Well, that was nearly a crash. Okay. Well, guten Tag, and welcome to somewhere just outside Munich, Germany. I'm feeling a little bamboozled. The last 12 hours have been, well, a little interesting for me. I was supposed to arrive here last night, but my flight got diverted because of bad weather. And I actually ended up in Vienna, Austria at like 2 a.m. this morning. I got a couple of hours sleep, and I jumped on a train back here to Munich, which was like 4.5 hours, actually very pretty. But yeah, I'm now like a bit sort of jet lag space. Where am I? What's going on? I'm here in Germany because I got some work to do at IAA, which is a massive motor show. But that's tomorrow. I did have a free day today. I say did because it's, well, nearly midday. I've lost half the day on a train. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and visit one of my favorite dealers in Europe, Kulisse. Mainly because it's kind of fun for me to say, Kulisse, but also because they've got a Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG in stock. And I've wanted to make a video on the SLS for a while. So I was like, great, free day, I'm gonna have all my camera gear with me, let's go and make some content. But yeah, the bad weather that diverted my flight is still around, which is not ideal conditions for driving an SLS. As I say, I've lost half the day, and I'm definitely a bit like space cadet-y. I think I need another 4 coffees to kind of get back in the zone. But it's fine, I will get in the zone, I will do this, we're gonna have an absolute blast. And the SLS, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the SLS. So, bear with me, I'll zhuzh myself up, and we'll get to Kulisse. I knew it was a good idea to come here today. Firstly, because there was an oat milk flat white waiting for me as I arrived, but also because look at these cars. Every time I come here, the stock is just, it's outrageous. Yes, we are here to film and talk about an SLS. That's actually over at their storage facility, so we'll go there in a moment. But I can't not show you all of this because the cars crammed into this showroom are quite jaw-dropping. Let's have a quick whip around. Well, seeing as we're going to focus on the SLS today, it probably makes sense to start the showroom tour here with the SLR, which could you say is the SLS's predecessor? I don't really think so. I think the SLS was all about celebrating or succeeding the iconic 300 SL, the original Gullwing, but the SLR did precede it in terms of manufacturing. I actually think they stopped producing the SLR as they started producing the SLS, but I might not be completely correct there. I think one thing which we're going to come on to a little bit later in this video is that potentially the SLR is currently undervalued on the used market, which possibly the SLS is as well. These things are mega, and if you think about it, they went up against the Enzo Ferrari, the Carrera GT, both those cars pushing well over £1 million these days. These things you can still pick up for like 350, 400 grand. So yeah, I don't know, it just feels like maybe people need to take a sort of second look at them. They're absolutely awesome. This, of course, is a Roadster. Got a like 4 GT tucked in the corner, beautiful Lambo 400. Actually, look at these two. Look at that combo, the 275 and the 400 2+2. Absolutely outrageous. 2 sort of iconic Italian supercars from the 60s. And now this 599 is very interesting. It is an HGTE packed car, but that's not what makes it special. Come and look inside. It is one of the very few factory manuals. Of course, lots of people out there now doing manual conversions, but this was actually a factory manual with the carbon bucket seats out of the Enzo, or very similar to my Challenge Stradale. But yeah, I cannot imagine what driving a manual 599 must be like. I think just a handful. I mean, I would love to have a go, but I can't imagine. Maybe it's great, I don't know. Got some more stunners over here. We'll come back to the 575 Super America in a moment. F8 Spider, but yes, that is a LaFerrari. I probably should have pointed that out pretty quickly because it's a bloody LaFerrari, and it's not a red and silver wheel launch spec LaFerrari. Stunning silver car with that matte black roof. This actually gives you kind of a good idea of how small the LaFerrari is. It's quite easy to sort of underestimate that actually it's a very tiny little car. But amazing to see. Got a very cool 997 Speedster. Yes, I mentioned the Super America because I'm a big 550 Barchetta fan. Never driven the Super America though. It's got that sort of slightly clumsy roof, that sort of folding glass roof, which often goes wrong. But yeah, cool car. And any kind of roof down V12 Ferrari's got to be a winner. So very nice to see. But we move on to maybe the star of the showroom. You probably saw it peaking. Yes, boys and girls, it's an SLR Sterling Moss. Could we claim this was the first of the kind of, windscreenless, roofless supercars? After this, I think we got the Aventador J, obviously the Monza SP1, SP2, the Aston Martin Speedster, the McLaren Elva, but this sort of set the tone for all of those cars. It was celebrating the iconic Sterling Moss original 300 SLR that he did the Mille Miglia and various other races in, and yeah, this thing is absolutely mad. It is a McLaren, or Mercedes McLaren SLR, but it's the 722, so the really powerful, Larry one, with no windscreen and no roof. Absolute madness. You have to sort of wear a helmet or goggles or something, not just for protection, but also just because, to stop your face morphing a la Jeremy Clarkson. But it's an absolutely wild thing. It must be such a unique experience to get behind the wheel of one, and then there you go, that's what your sort of view out would be. So very, very cool. This is a delivery mileage example, one of the very, very few made in black. So sadly, we're not going to be able to get the chance to experience this today, but it's one of my friend's favourite cars, and I would love at some point to have go on. Which is kind of cool, which is very different to like Ferraris and Lambos and things like that. Mercedes owners do tend to use their cars, so it's quite rare to find a delivery mileage example because they're often used on historic Mille Miglia events or other sort of drives. You do see people getting out and driving them, which I love, but I guess it just shows how usable, some of these special Mercedes can be. I feel like I could spend all day in here making an entire video just about this showroom stock, but no, today's focus is the SLS. So let me go and finish my coffee, and then we'll head to the storage facility to go and find that car. So here we are then, the star of today's show, the SLS. Why have I wanted to make a video on this car? Well, I reckon in the last couple of years, 4 of my friends have bought SLSs, and since they've bought them, they've become obsessed. It's all they talk about. Actually, earlier this summer, when I did that drive up to Monterey Car Week with a bunch of friends, someone bought an SLS, and everyone was so impressed by it. It was hustling everywhere. And people were like, God, these SLSs are quite good, aren't they? And I think people are surprised when these cars appear to be good, or people talk about how great they are, because, well, it's kind of gone in and out of favour. Came out back in 2009, so it's a 15-year-old car. And of course, when it launched, the design, the looks, everything about it was super iconic. But I think it's come to represent much more than it was when it came out. For example, we now know that this was the last ever naturally aspirated AMG. And there's lots about it that just, well, hit that absolute peak point of modern classic, the sort of last of a, not an analog generation, but the 2010s, the glory years of automotive before the computers and the Chinese took over. But obviously it's only now that we're really starting to appreciate these things in sort of the older cars. For a long time, this thing was overlooked as just being a bit old school, a bit basic. When this thing launched, I think it cost around £160,000 plus a few options, maybe 180. But by 2014, just a few years later, you could pick them up in the UK for like 90 to 100 grand. Like the value just plummeted. No one wanted them. But now, anywhere in the world to get a good one of these, or just to get any one of these, you're going to be paying north of £200,000. People have started to clock on. But what I want to understand is, are people clocking on because it's a great last hurrah AMG, or because they think it's an investment piece? Because that's always the question when you get into this modern classic game. Are the values going up because collectors are nabbing them and shoving them in storage facilities, or because us drivers, us enthusiasts are realizing this was a sweet spot? I have driven an SLS before, and it was great, but just briefly and kind of in traffic. I'm not sure today is going to be much better of an experience given the Munich weather, but I don't care. I'm here to do proper journalism, people, and find out whether, yes, the SLS is a collector's car or a driver's car, and either way, whether you should be buying it in 2025. if you can afford it, because it's actually like, that's a lot of money. Yeah, sorry. I'm just relevant as ever. I mean, this is what you want an AMG to be. I mean, I actually think I need to turn traction back on. That was probably a bit reckless. Right, let's kickstart with the seating position in this car, because it is so unique. And I mean, I'm on the rear wheels. You've got this massive long bonnet stretching out in front of you. But what's quite interesting is the engine's actually quite far back within that bonnet. It's actually behind the front axle, so it does make it a front mid-engine car. The sort of weight balance is actually quite rear biased. Now, of course, there are other modern day sort of super GTs that have a similar feel, take an 812 super fast, but even in that, you're not really sitting on the rear axle in the way that you are in this SLS. It is so unique. Now, am I going to make it around here? Yes, I am, because turning circle, surprisingly good. Now, even with traction on, this thing is, I mean, just a brilliant monster. I remember the Top Gear episode where they used the SSL, they took it out on track, and the thing was just sideways the whole time, burning through rubber. But it just means that you're constantly smiling. The thing is just a powerhouse. Okay, this is not the day for dynamic driving in this car, but I kind of love it nonetheless. I must remember though, this car is for sale. This is not a Mercedes-Benz press car. I actually need to be a little bit more respectful. I'm sorry, Schaukalitzer. I'm sorry, person who is selling or might end up buying this car. Well, actually, hopefully it's just a good advert. Now, often when you drive these kind of modern classics, the one thing that holds them back is their gearbox, but that's not the case with the SLS. The car is only from 2010, it's not that old, and it has a dual clutch transmission, actually the same kind of hardware as the Ferrari 458, and I guess the Ferrari California, it's a Getag system. I'm pretty sure that's a German company. Obviously, software tuning very different between an SLS and a 458. Because this is still a Mercedes-Benz, even though it was the first car to be kind of completely built and developed by AMG, it is still a Mercedes-Benz. It has has the ability to be a little bit lethargic. For now, let's just dial things back, because again, being a 2010 car, there's tech in here, and we've got driving modes. So I can dial out of Sport Plus, which is what I was in, down through Sport, right into Comfort. Now, I've immediately been put into 6th gear, the gearbox will sort itself out, and I find myself in a GT Cruiser, in a very nice, luxurious Mercedes-Benz. Okay, we've still got sport/supercar things in here, lots of tyre noise, lots of cabin noise, but I could do many, many miles on this thing. It is definitely super GT, not super car. I just love the fact that then if I need to, back into Sport Plus, or even manual, down through the gears. Please, let's hope I don't end up in a tree, and, oh yeah, okay, that was nearly a tree. The thing is just, oh, monster! Now, whilst the power, the spinning rear wheels, the noise may be the bits you expect from any AMG, but the SLS, the bit that might surprise you, or I think maybe surprise some of my friends, or sets this car apart as being an actual genuine driver's car, is the front end, the handling, the overall balance. I really like the steering and the front end on this car. It feels responsive, it's communicative. I feel like I can really throw it into corners and it's going to do what I want it to do. For example, here we go, well, actually this is a junction, so I shouldn't be too crazy. It's very easy to get carried away in this thing because it feels like it really wants to just, have so much fun. Well, that was nearly a crash. Stop, Sam, stop. That was nearly, I was out of control there. Oh God. This thing is so fun. Anyway, yes, apart from when you just think that you're Michael Schumacher and you're not, the car is very sort of predictable. Whilst there's a lot going on, I think I already mentioned it, even the front end, it just feels all connected. And that means that whilst you have the old school shouty AMG characteristics, it does also feel like it could handle a proper mountain road, a proper track. It's a genuine driver's car. There we go, I've answered question one. It is a genuine driver's car that has multiple use cases, but also dynamic abilities. And the interesting thing is the weight. This car was actually a lot lighter than the SL that was out at the same period of time, and even than the SLR. Now this is concerning because this is a big junction onto a big road. I need to be sensible here because I've already nearly crashed this car. This is fine. Come on, just feather the throttle. It doesn't need a lot because it's all the power. That was good because there's a car coming, so that was very. So you can modulate power and wheel spin. Well, in the quest to not get too carried away and overexcited because this thing is silly fun in the rain, let's think of some negatives. Well, I mean, fuel. It's a boring point to make as a petrol head, but yes, that huge V8. It does, chow down on fuel. I think if you're going to do spirited driving, expect single-figure MPG. I suppose you could say the interior is dated, but I kind of think that's a plus point. Now that the world, and especially Mercedes-Benz, has gone so screen heavy and haptic buttons and all that kind of stuff, it's quite nice to have analog controls. And you can retrofit Apple CarPlay to these cars. I think one of my friends even had touchscreen Apple CarPlay retrofitted, so all of that is possible. I mean, practicality, the boot is pretty good. These doors, they're iconic and amazing. Could they run you into some trouble? Maybe, I don't think so. It's not like they open particularly wide. It's not like a 4GT situation in a car park. If you're worried about safety because you think they might roll over the car, which potentially you could if you drive it like I've been driving it on a wet day, there's a way to pop them off so you can get out and stuff. In the cabin, it's quite tight, maybe? I mean, I'm struggling here, people, because you know what you're getting into. You look at the car, you understand what it is, and it delivers so much. Me being like, I don't like the aircon vents, seems a bit silly. What's this coming? X1. This is quite a good local driving road, and sometimes you see nice stuff coming past, but I think today, given the weather, I'm the only one out and about. Now let's talk about sort of maintenance, running costs, reliability. I've tried to do a bit of research here. Interestingly, servicing, very sort of affordable for this car. You have A and B servicing, and it's like £500 for a B and £1,000 for an A or something like that. So probably a bit more manageable than you were expecting for a £200,000 supercar. They seem to be fairly reliable. You know, that AMG V8 is pretty rock solid, the gearbox as well. There have been a few mentions of things like radiators and stuff like that, but in general, these cars seem to tick along quite well, and they are used. People like to drive them because they are super GTs. They are totally dailyable, and of course, with any of these cars, especially from this kind of generation, the more you use them, the better. I think one thing which might be going against this car is actually that value that I mentioned. The fact that they're creeping up suddenly changes some of their sort of desirability. If you look at this car's rivals, you could say maybe a V12 Vantage, a 599, a 997 generation 911 Turbo, they're all under £100,000. So you're getting rival performance for half the money. And this is the hard thing. If you're purely coming at this from a driving enthusiast point of view, I wonder if this offers bang for buck. Does it offer something unique and fun and of a different era? Absolutely. But could you get something similar in a different shape and form, maybe from a British or Italian manufacturer, for half the price? Yes. I think a 599 and maybe even that manual one that's back at Showroom's showroom would have been just as slippery and hilarious today. So would a V12 Vantage. And they have other personalities and characters. So it does slightly depend where your automotive heart falls. Are you a Mercedes-Benz / AMG enthusiast purist? Or was this a car that when it came out you went, ah? That's got to be the motivating factor, I think, from just a pure driving pleasure. Because 200 grand plus, Yeah, I really wasn't joking with the whole fuel thing. It genuinely drinks petrol so quickly, but that's half the fun. It's just the looks, the style, the vibe of this car do maybe pull me more than a V12. I don't know, but what a morning. I'm so glad the guys let me take this car out today. It is just, I get why all my friends are falling in love with it. So what's my summary then? Is this the modern classic to buy in 2025? Should you be thinking about an SLS AMG? Like maybe I just said, it does depend where your heart lies, and that is so the truth for really any modern classic. The reason that we're seeing 90s and noughties cars start to climb in value is because, well, those of us that were kids back then that maybe have worked hard, started to earn some money, save some money, or be in a point where we can borrow some money, we're buying the cars that we grew up with. And this is starting to fall into that category, a 2010s car, and it does tick so many boxes. I remember the sort of advert, the launch advert with Michael Schumacher, where he sort of drove upside down in a tunnel. It was his glorious comeback to F1. I'm such a Schumacher fan. He was returning with Mercedes. It was a whole moment, and this car, yeah, was definitely an icon of that era. Would I buy one? I don't know. I have never seen myself as a Mercedes person. And whilst I keep driving their cars going, these are amazing, I still don't know if this is where I'd put I think I'd get a V12 Vantage. I think is probably where I'd lie. Would I get a 599? I think maybe this has got maybe more poise than a 599. I don't know. It has so much going for it, this car. So much going for it. And I understand. And the question mark is, given the fact that it is worth double some of its rivals, and the special variants, which we haven't even really talked about, the final edition, the Black Series, are, you know, really approaching £1 million. How much higher could this go? If you are looking to put your money somewhere, enjoy driving it, and hopefully come out with a bit more money than you put in, this could be that car. Could we see SLSs getting up to $500,000? I don't think it's impossible. Thank you to Shout Calissa for putting up with my delayed travel and for allowing me to take the car out in these horrible conditions. We'll be back with you next week with an update on my V8, the Jaguar Project 8. So yeah, tune in next weekend. See you then.